everybody. Tom Leyden with you. I'm joined today by Marie Adams, who is the owner of Bubbling Brook. And this is a very unique setting for me because there's nobody here, which is very odd. It's a little bit after 10 o'clock in the morning, and the rush has not begun. But this is just such a crazy time of year for you and such a seasonal business, which is changing each and every day. First of all, it's great to see you.
Thank you. Good to see you.
I love always seeing you when I come to get ice cream and the friendly faces through the windows, which are working so hard. And number one, I always like to thank my sponsors for their support of Westwood Living, and you were one of our charter sponsors, so that is not lost on me, so thank you very much. I appreciate that.
We're glad to do it.
And we, as a family, lived so close to Bubbling Brook from the outset. I think this was the first place we actually sat down and had a meal.
Oh, really?
It is, yeah. We came in here, which, of course, we're going to get to, the concept of food not being a part of the offerings here in 2023 and how we got there. But let's talk more specifically about how this business started. It's been in your blood since the beginning. When you think about your parents who have been a part of this, and even more. I mean, I did a story when I was with Boston 25 about Bubbling Brook and learned a little bit, but this is another opportunity to learn more about how it started, where you came from. So take us back in time and how this has been a part of your life for so long.
Ice cream's been a part of my life since I was 4. So we grew up in West Virginia, and we had Baskin-Robbins stores. We owned 2 and managed a third at my family. And so we grew up going to the stores and working the cash registers. You know, I stood on a milk crate and worked the cash register was as soon as I could to help my parents, and that was where we went after school. And then my mom was from up here, so we had the opportunity to move back up here in '88 when the previous owner was leasing it to my mother's cousin. And he was looking for a partner, and he knew my family was in the ice cream business, and my family wanted to move here closer to family. So we moved up here. We leased it from 1988 to 91. And then we were out of it for a little bit. The previous owner wanted to have his family more involved in it in case they wanted to have the opportunity to run it as well. Then 2003, my parents purchased the business then, and so we've been here since then. I worked at Meditech in Westwood for 9 years before joining them in 2005, so I've been here almost 20 years myself with them.
So your dad is Ed. What's your mom's name again?
Gloria.
And still here.
Still here.
You know, you can
every day.
You could pop in here and get an ice cream cone from Ed, and there's no question about that. What's it like working with family? How have you? I guess you don't know any different. You just said you've been doing it since 4.
I don't know.
But you got to have a good dynamic.
You do, and and it's your family, and you might have disagreements, of course, but at the end of the day, it's your parents. You love them more than anything, and you're not going to see eye to eye on everything, but you're going to talk it through and work it through just like you would with anyone, and you figure it out.
I referenced it's seasonal, but that's changing a little bit, because what I loved from 22 to 23 is all of a sudden in November and December I saw on your Instagram feed, hey, if you want to get a pie for Thanksgiving, we can do that this year. I was like, wow, that's great. Where did that idea come from, and how successful was that?
It was great. We started doing the pies last year. We've always done ice cream pies, but they weren't as we didn't really have the freezer space when we had, after COVID, having to purchase more freezers for inside for so many items ready to go versus, being hand scooped and people waiting in line. So we had to purchase the freezers, and we said, let's start to get some more items for people to just stop by and pick up. They need an ice cream cake, they need a happy anniversary pie, something like that. They can just stop by and pick it up. So we started doing them, and then last year we started making them, and we pumpkin Oreo everyone waits for in the fall. I should say in August when we start serving it, and we made a few pumpkin Oreo pies, and one woman bought 4, and she was so excited. She's like, I'm saving these for Thanksgiving. And, the thought occurred to me, why don't we do some pies and sell them for Thanksgiving and Christmas? And we weren't able to do it for Thanksgiving, but we were hoping to do it this year. So we started doing it for Christmas.
Yeah,
and,
I got a peppermint.
You got a peppermint? The peppermint was the biggest hit. It's funny. Peppermint is one of those ice creams that's not it's delicious, but it's not a big mover on a day-to-day basis. But for the holidays, you think of peppermint, and it's such a fun, delicious, Christmassy treat that we're actually going to do a little surprise in July with the peppermint pies as well.
Oh, right on. Count me in.
Yes.
Well, I'm sure I'm not alone that I've got my favorite. I've got my go-tos. You know, I've always been a black raspberry chip guy, but I'm
Yes.
morphing a bit. I'm now doing the double. I'm doing the peppermint on top of chocolate,
Oh.
which is
That's
phenomenal.
a delicious combination.
It
Yeah.
really is good. The essence of the business, while we talked about the pies, is the day-to-day scoop and serve with the line out the door that I
Right.
think becomes almost a social gathering. You know, you show
Yes.
up here at Bubbling Brook and you see friends, and many times it's just impromptu. It's kind of you finish with a softball game or a baseball game, no matter where you are, whether it's Walpole, Medfield, Dover, Westwood, wherever. If you're within shouting distance, it's like, hey, let's go to Bubbling Brook
Yeah.
and let's go get our team
Right.
a scoop of ice cream. That's got to be rewarding to know that you are a staple in the community that people view as a go-to. It's an experience.
It is, and we appreciate that. You know, we try to create a welcoming environment for everyone. You know, those picnic tables, we wouldn't have survived COVID if we didn't have that nice outdoor area with 30 tables for people, and we do our best to keep it clean and welcoming and nice and enjoyable, clean environment for everyone to come to, because you don't want to come to a place that's not looking its best. It doesn't make it as an enjoyable experience for you. You know, we try to do our best with changing our offerings so people can come in and gather around and see and be seen. As soon as people come home, the kids come home from college,
Right.
it's a gathering place. Everyone likes to meet here and see their friends that they haven't seen. So it's nice to see all of those gatherings here whenever possible.
Yeah, it certainly is a place for social gatherings. But big decision made by your family this off season in that you were going to shift the focus solely to ice cream.
Correct.
And it's a learning process.
Yes,
and
it
we don't know if
certainly
this
is.
is permanent or not permanent,
Yeah.
but you've got to go through a season and see how it works. But how did we get to this point? How did you make that decision? Because you're the one who had to
Yeah,
sit
it
with
was-
it, make it, and
right.
deal with all the feedback that
Yeah.
you got, positive and negative.
Right, of course. It was certainly not an easy decision for us. We had 3 members of our kitchen staff that have been here 20 years. 2 of them are brothers, and you know, it's hard. We only have 3 people, and it's a busy kitchen. And we've had numerous additional staff over the years, and it's intense. You know, when it's busy, it's very intense. It's hard to find those extra kitchen helpers to fill in for other, you know, shorter shifts and things like that. So those guys worked close to 80 hours a week every week, and if you wanted additional time off, it was hard to do. So they have young families now as well as I do, and they just decided they wanted something with a different schedule, more year-round work, a little bit less nights and weekends, because it's every weekend, it's every night. They decided to shift to find different positions for more year-round work. So we looked at it and said, well, maybe it's time for all of us to make that change too. So my husband, being the 3rd member of the kitchen, he's now home. We have 2 boys that are 3 and 4. So we've had wonderful nannies in the past, but now they get to have one of their parents home with them, which is so wonderful. And, you know, my parents are both, one in their 80s, one close to it. It's just sometimes we just need to take a step back and take time for your family and put your family first and say what's best for the young ones in your lives, the older ones in your lives. What do we need to do? And kind of shifting away from the food enables us to, everyone, you know, my husband to be home, my mom is home, my dad is here most mornings and then comes back sometimes in the evenings, but it's just enabling our family to have a little bit more focused time with themselves.
You should not be faulted for that. Your number one obligation, all of our top obligations to our family.
Right.
So get through this season,
Yeah.
see how it goes, right? You got
Yeah.
to figure out how does the business do. You're operating a business. It's
Right.
a relatively small business.
Right.
You're very successful, but it's still this one location.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that there's a lot of understanding in this community, and you still provide, which I think is the most important thing, great ice cream and the social experience.
Yeah.
So from my perspective, that's my feedback.
Thank you, Tom. Thank you.
And I know
Appreciate
that,
that.
we all get sucked into sometimes the vortex of feedback that you hear on social media or
It's
something
hard.
that you
It's
see on a
people-
Facebook
yeah,
page or
it's very
people who
hard,
fire
yeah.
away on the Instagram page, and a lot of that's anonymous.
Right, and people don't have the ability. No one has come to my face and said any of those things, but over social media, they love to just rip you apart and say not nice things and say you're not going to succeed. You're not going to, you know, I see this as the end of the end. You know, people were just awful, and I just had to stop reading them because who's going to come up and say that to me
Right.
here face to face? No one. So I just said, you know what? It's not worth reading. If they want to come tell me this is the end of the business, fine, come tell me. But I'm here every day, and thank God we're here We're paying our bills. We're paying our staff. We're still a member of the community, and we don't have any plans to go anywhere.
What I love is even in the couple of minutes since we've begun talking, you can start seeing the
buzz.
The buzz, it's growing. People are reporting to work and getting ready for the rush. So weather dependent,
yes.
right? Obviously,
Yep.
if it's pouring down rain, you're not going to have a line out the door.
Right.
But generally speaking, what's the perfect conditions for success here at Bubbling Brook?
Sunshine. Sunshine, kids not in school, the weekend. And, the summers are definitely different here come July and August. Sundays might still have some traffic, but Saturdays are different because so many people around the community just have summer homes that they go to their summer homes. And so you definitely see a little bit of dip because there's not as many sports activities and family activities. But the ideal conditions are a sunny day and the afternoon, anywhere from 6 to 8:30 is our biggest rush, or a Sunday afternoon, Saturday afternoon.
Most of the time I ask people, where do you see yourself in 5 years? I almost think it's not fair to ask you that because you're right in the middle of a very deep learning process
honestly,
right now.
Before COVID, none of this would have happened. It's just funny how it just changed so much of our business. Even after, the first year of COVID, we shut down the dining room and shifted to just outside food. And we had a lot of older long-term waitresses inside, and they didn't come back. They were done. So they didn't return, and it was hard we said, we're just going to leave it as takeout, and it's doing great. We're going to leave it like that. And then things change again. So you just kind of roll with it, and you have to say, okay, now what? Now what do we shift to? Every week we shift the flavors of our soft serves to make new varieties for everyone. Vegan options, always have something non-dairy for people. So I feel like every day you're learning something new, and every day you're seeing what else you can add to your menu to make it a better option for people, and exciting option. So, let's go there. They have this, or my son can have this flavor. I want to take him there for ice cream. So it's always a learning process for me.
You have shown the ability to evolve while still remaining a staple in the community.
Thank you.
So take that as a major compliment. And
Thank you.
Everybody know that Bubbling Brook is open 6 days a week, Tuesday to Sunday. Marie only gets Mondays off, and that's not really a day off, particularly during the season. So pop on by. You know where Bubbling Brook is, right here on High Street, right before the border into Walpole, that little stretch on 109 that goes Westwood, Walpole, Dover, Medfield in about 90 seconds. This is the last major landmark in Westwood, right along Route 109. But thanks for your support.
Thank you.
Good luck, as always, moving forward, and I can't wait to continue our relationship. So that's Marie Adams from Bubbling Brook. As always, if you've got somebody else who you'd like for me to sit down and chat with, feel free to reach out. Leyden at bestversionmedia.com. It's that simple because I love telling stories and shining a light on people who do amazing things, and Marie Adams and her family certainly qualifies in that category. So thanks again.
Thanks, Tom.
And we'll talk to you soon.
Thanks
Thanks to everybody else for listening here on the Westwood Living Podcast Network.